Hello, what's up? Today is the end of day 2. I'm preparing for day 3 of this interesting 3-week journey. Um, I watched a cool video last night. It's actually in the link to my last evening's video. It was about Christian enlightenment. Please excuse Bailey. So, talking about the idea of light and dark matter in the universe, and how dark matter in itself is just light, a different form of light. So interesting, and he used quantum physics then to explain how, awareness in our body, like in our flesh and spirit, or just in our person, I guess, is like a form of enlightenment. How he watch the video. Talks about the idea of dualism, how the idea of like light and darkness are dueling forces, but then talks about if it's all light, is it dueling? So he talked about different divisions. So like division between flesh and spirit, division, between like, whether Christ was, fully man or fully God, or talking about like the Trinity. Are they one? Are they three? Or is God one? Is God three? But how those don't necessarily have to be dueling forces or dueling ideas. That if we can learn to accept complexity, essentially, and the idea that it's all a form of light, that somehow those aren't doing. I should watch the video again, probably. But one of the most profound moments in the video was when he was talking about the idea of prayer. So prayer then, so I guess that goes back to the Hebrew word for God, and taking the Lord's name in vain didn't necessarily mean, using God's name in a phrase of profanity, or, saying like things like, oh my goodness, that actually was saying the name of God out loud. And so it's actually abbreviated like YHWH. Stop it! And not spoken. Anyway, so, but if you think about the word then, Yahweh, is actually, they say the sound of breath, but the inhalation, exhalation, Yahweh. And interesting, he also looked at the name, like the name for God in Arabic, Allah, which Al means, I believe, like the, and then the second L would be like the only, and then would be the name for God, but the Allah is actually like the, and then the only breath, so interesting. And then you talk with that about the idea of prayer, and the idea of prayer actually being contemplative, and prayer being that breath. So prayer being, sitting and checking out the leaf that's just falling from the ground, and breathing, and, being aware of the presence of God then in that leaf, not in the leaf, but the presence of God that created that leaf, and being appreciated of that leaf and the things that are around you. So prayer then is just not simply, but a form of prayer is contemplation then, and appreciating God and praising God for his attributes and what he's created. And so that's been interesting as I've gone about my day to day. When I have moments to sit and relax, I can just like focus on my breath, like inhaling and exhaling, and being like present with God in that moment, which is an interesting way to look at prayer. But it is also kind of comforting to think of the presence of God in that way. Yeah, so that's one way to Another thing that, another question that I have while I was driving home, or a question that I had driving home, was, how and with what frequency do followers and disciples of Islam hear from God and get answers from God? What kind of, I guess, two-way relationship is going on? When people ask, are they being answered? So I did a little bit of research on that, and I was on, Ask About Islam. Ow, ow, ow. AskAboutIslam.com. .net. AboutIslam.net. Reading about how a Muslim speaks to God, and it looks similar to the way a Christian would pray when you take out the postures and ablutions, so like ritual cleanings, and it seems like more casual prayers than boil down to three things: praising God, I've forgotten, praising God and asking and thanking God. So these are three things that begin and end prayers. So it seems like a similar relationship, and then in the same way it says, God does not answer, like a text message. He doesn't fax you back or reply in 5 minutes. That you do wait, and in the same way that, I was taught to pray, you wait for answers in God's timing, God's way. Please stop, baby. So there's one thing. I'm going to do some more research on that, hopefully in the next couple days. Let's see. Next. This thing I have noticed in the past, but today I was especially aware of the judgments I was making towards other people. And I don't remember the moment exactly where it, definitely came to light and was so apparent how often or how quickly I was judging people, specifically on their appearance. And so I can mention a few of the things that I found myself doing, and something I do a lot. I think what I do is I project my own personal, just the battles that I've been through in the past and that I still deal with, and then my own insecurities, my own flaws, I project those on other people. And not to say that they do or don't struggle with those same things. But, this cat is so crazy. So I would walk into the bathroom, and, one of the things that I look at are people's legs. So I would see, a room full of girls, and I look at their legs, and then immediately I think, anorexia, or self-control issues, or probably should go back to the gym, or dang, I wish I was like this, or glad I'm not like this. And I find myself in this pattern. I think it's self-justification, because I will be quite honest, I'm not content with my person as I am right now. I wish, I appeared differently, or I wish, maybe I had more self-control, or I wish, maybe I wasn't so extreme, but I look at people, and I look at the way they look initially, and I make all sorts of judgments about, their character, their workout routine, or, their, dietary habits, or what that says about, what kind of student that they are. And all these super shallow things, but I do it because I'm insecure about, my body, or I'm afraid, people will judge me for, the things that I eat, or I'm afraid, maybe such and such a person is a better student, but maybe if I can critique them on something else, then I can still put myself in a higher place. It's really lame, but I don't know how to work past that until I've worked through my own insecurities. How exactly does one work through their own insecurities? That's a great question. that's one I don't have an answer to yet. Anyway, so yeah, I can be super judgy. Another one was like a group of students that were all younger today giving presentations, and I was like, they're presenting last, and like, like they're all undergrads, so like, they're probably not the best work here, like, probably. And then, heaven forbid, one of them, spoke too fast or like made a mistake, and I was like, ooh, glad I didn't do that. And that's really not. What kind of friend am I? Like, what kind of person does that make me? Not a good one. But c'est pour cela que je suis ici. Magpi, I am here to learn. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say for today. So, enlightenment, dualism, frequency of answers to questions to God, and I'm judgy. And that is all my